last week we looked at the story of Zacchaeus primarily, and we did Zacchaeus, and we did Jesus clearing out the temple. And the first thing that we really focused on was that we should strive to seek out and love all people, even social outcasts. Zacchaeus was clearly an outcast because of his being a tax collector and also his size, and so we should be looking out for people like that as well. First youth minister I actually interned under. First day on the job, he told me that what he wanted me to do, my primary responsibility for that whole summer, was to look after the kids on the fringe. And so if I saw some kid that was just not really connecting, to go over there and connect with them and bring them in, and that was my goal. And so it really was something that stuck with me. And then the other thing we talked about was how Jesus comes to bring all things back to where they were meant to be, and sometimes that means lifting up, and sometimes it means tearing down. And so, just like with Zacchaeus, he lifted him up, he encouraged him, and it brought him back. Jesus also restored the temple court to where it was supposed to be by getting rid of the merchants and the corruption that shouldn't have been there in the first place. And so it's the same thing for us. Sometimes our life with Christ is going to mean being lifted up, encouraged, and sometimes it's going to mean getting rid of some stuff in our life. So this morning we're going to focus primarily on Luke 22 verses 7 through 38. So if you guys want to go ahead and open up to Luke 22. So I think we started on that side last time, so we'll start over here. Yeah, chapter 22, verse 7.
Okay, 2 verses or?
Yeah, we'll go do 2 verses.
Okay. Then came the day of the unleavened bread, on which the Passover lamb had been sacrificed. Jesus sent Peter, John, saying, "Go and make preparations for us to eat the Passover."
Where do you want us to prepare for it yet? He replied, as you enter the city, a man carrying a jar of water will meet you. Follow him to the house that he enters.
And say to the owner of the house, the teacher asks, where is the guest room, where I may eat the Passover with my disciples? He will show you a large room upstairs, all furnished. Make preparations there.
They left and found things just as Jesus had told them. So they prepared the Passover. When the hour came, Jesus and his apostles reclined at the table.
And he said to them, I have eagerly desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer. For I tell you, I will not eat it again until it finds fulfillment in the kingdom of God.
After taking the cup, he gave thanks and said, Take this and divide it among you. For I tell you, I will not drink again from the fruit of the vine until the kingdom of God comes.
And he took bread, gave thanks, and broke it, and gave it to them, saying, This is my body, given for you. Do this in remembrance of me. In the same way, after the supper, he took the cup, saying, This cup is the new covenant in my blood, which is poured out for you.
But the hand of him who is going to betray me is with mine on the table. The Son of Man will go as it has been decreed, but woe to that man who betrays him.
They began to question among themselves which of them might be who would do this. Also dispute arose among them as to which of them was considered to be great. Jesus said to them, When kings over the entire world, it over them, and those who exercise authority, they carry.
Okay. Reagan, you want to go and pick up forward?
Yeah. Exercise authority over them who call themselves
Benefactors.
benefactors. But you are not to be like that. Instead, the greatest among you should be like the youngest, and the one who rules like the one who serves. For who is greater, the one who is at the table or the ones who serves? Is it not the one who is at the table, but I am among you as one who serves?
You are those who have stood by me in my trial, and I confer on you a kingdom, just as my Father conferred one on me,
so that you may eat and drink at my table in my kingdom, and sit on thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. Simon, Simon, Satan has asked to sift all of you as wheat.
But I have prayed for you, Simon, that your faith may not fail. And when you have turned back, strengthen your brothers. Then he replied, Lord, I am ready to go with you to prison and to death.
Jesus answered, I tell you, Peter, before the rooster crows today, you will deny me 3 times that you know me. Then Jesus asked him, when I sent you out first bags, sandals, did you lack anything? Nothing, they answered.
He said to them, But now, if you have a purse, take it, and also a bag. If you don't have a sword, sell your cloak and buy one. It is written, and he was numbered with the transgressors. And I tell you that this must be fulfilled in you. Yes, what is written about me is reaching its fulfillment.
The disciples said, See, Lord, here are 2 swords. That's enough, he replied.
Alright. So was there anything in particular in any of those verses that caught your attention that you thought was interesting or had questions about? Okay. Just so that we can be sure everybody understands what Passover is and the significance of Jesus dying at Passover, right? Okay. One thing that I've always found interesting is, Jesus is sitting at the Last Supper, and he's still eating with a guy who he knows is about ready to betray him. And somebody else has pointed this out before me, but I mean, it's not just Jesus, got to the meal and all of a sudden realized it's him, I mean, he knew the entire time. As soon as he picked Judas to be one of his disciples, he knew Judas was going to be the guy to betray him. And so that in and of itself is kind of interesting. But in verse 24, it talks about how a dispute comes up among the apostles about who's the greatest among them, right? What leads into that argument? What does Jesus say in verses 20 through 23?
He took communion with them and told them what it represented.
Yeah, he did. Verses 20 through 23, what does Jesus, focusing in on verses 21 through 22.
He tells them somebody's going to betray them.
Yeah. And then they start to do what? Verse 23? Huh?
Question among themselves which are going to
Yeah. So, I mean, it's this natural progression. So Jesus says, all right, one of you guys is going to betray me. So then they start going, who's it going to be? And so then this whole argument about who is the greatest comes about because they're arguing about who's it going to be. I mean, they're sitting there saying, well, it wouldn't be me because I am, whatever. And so that argument keeps ramping up, and Jesus has to kind of correct it and go from there. And so this gets into the first point for us this morning is that just as Jesus came to serve and restore the world to what it was meant to be, Jesus wants us to serve others to bring the world back to what God wanted at the beginning, which is people serving and loving each other. And Jesus specifically talks to the apostles about look, you guys are sitting here arguing over who's the greatest. Who's the greatest? Yeah. He's like, it ain't you guys. You're focusing on the wrong person here. You're concerned about who's the leader among you. That doesn't matter. You guys should be focusing on following me, and that's all that really matters. And so he's trying to get them to focus on that and saying, look, if I'm the leader, if I'm the one that you guys are following, and I'm willing to sit down and serve you all, if I'm willing to forgive people and have compassion and all this, don't you think that should be what you guys should be focusing on? If I'm your leader and I'm willing to go and be obedient to death on a cross, what does that say about you guys? And so the whole goal is just to restore us to what God intended. And our focus shouldn't be on, well, I'm the most popular kid in the youth group, or I'm the most popular person in church, or I have this much authority in the church, or whatever. It doesn't matter. The goal is, are you serving and loving others? And let God be the one that's in control. We're going through the supper and everything, and then all of a sudden, Jesus goes to Peter and says, when you turn, let's see here. He wants to sift all of them as wheat, but I pray for you, Simon, that your faith may not fail, and when you have turned back, strengthen your brothers. So he's already signifying that Peter is going to turn away, and Peter's like, no, I'm going to go with you to death, right? And then Jesus comes back and says, you're going to deny me 3 times. Right? How many of you guys have seen the movie Home Alone 2? Okay, so one of my favorite scenes in that movie is when Kevin's running away from all the hotel staff, and he goes into the room and he starts playing the video, and he has the video have a conversation between the gangster or whatever and the staff, and the gangster starts accusing the head butler of making out with everybody. This is kind of how I envision this happening in this conversation, because Jesus has said one of you is going to betray me, and then one of they start arguing over, well, wouldn't be me, and then it becomes, well, who's the greatest? And then Jesus goes to Peter and says, you're going to deny me. All right? And so this is the look that I imagine being on the disciples' face when Jesus tells Peter, you're going to deny me. All right? It's this look, oh, right? And then, of course, you've got Cliff over here who's going, it's not me, it's not true. This is the disciples and this is Peter as they're sitting there going through this interaction of, no. And so, it's just, I don't know. To me, it's funny. But, the whole thing is Peter's sitting here going, what are you talking about? No, I'm willing to die for you. And Jesus is like, well, you will later. But right now, you're going to run. But I think the important thing to notice here is 2 things. And one of them, honestly, I just caught this morning. In verse 31, we always look at this part where Jesus tells Peter, you're going to deny me, right? And so everybody always looks at Peter at this moment. But if you look at verse 31, he says, Simon, Simon, Satan has asked to sift all of you as wheat. Not just Peter. And so it's that everybody is involved in this. But the other big part is what he says to him afterwards, which is, and when you have turned back, strengthen your brothers. So Jesus doesn't just offer restoration to Peter for his upcoming denial. He's also bringing Peter into the plan to bring others back. And I think that's such a critical thing that rings true throughout the entire text of the Bible as we go through this story, is that God doesn't just want to sit there and say, okay, that's it, we're done. He wants to bring us in as part of the plan. And so he's specifically telling Peter, you're going to mess up. It's going to happen. You're going to deny me. We're going to go through this. But you're going to be restored. And more than just being restored, I want you to take charge and bring everybody else back. To give them the encouragement that they need as well. That it's okay that they ran as well. Okay? And so, so Jesus brings him in as part of the plan. And of course, Jesus fulfills his mission by being obedient to God's plan for him to die on the cross so we could be rescued. I mean, he comes, he goes and he prays in just a little bit, verses 39 through 46. And in verse 42, he says, Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me, yet not my will, but yours be done. And so he's okay with the idea that if he was to get the go-ahead to stop this plan, he'd be willing to go ahead and stop it. He doesn't necessarily want to go through with this, but he knows what has to happen. And he knows that he needs to be obedient. And then after this, we see the sequence where he's trying to talk to him about how he's prepared them for everything that they're going to do. Says, when I sent you without a purse, bag, or sandals, did you lack anything? Nothing, they answered. And so Jesus sends us on our way to be part of the plan with everything that we need. If we need to do something for the kingdom, God's going to supply it. He's going to take care of it. And then he starts going into the rest of this part now. But if you have a purse, take it, and also a bag. And if you don't have a sword, sell your cloak and buy one. It was written, and he was numbered with the transgressors. And I tell you that this must be fulfilled in me. Yes, what is written about me is reaching its fulfillment. The disciples said, See, Lord, here are 2 swords. That's enough, he replied. All right. How many of you guys have ever noticed humor in the Bible? All right. It's there. And this is one that I've always thought is funny because Jesus is sitting there trying to say, all right, if you have something, take it with you, get ready, the time is coming. And he mentions swords, but did Jesus actually intend for them to start going out and killing people? No, it was completely against what he was trying to do. All right? What happens right after this? When Jesus gets arrested? Yeah. The high priest's servant, verse 50, the servant of the high priest, he's there, and they're like, Jesus, do you want us to attack now? Yeah! I mean, I don't know how on earth you cut off a guy's ear, I mean, that's an odd strike. I don't know if the guy ducked or what was going on, but somehow this disciple misses completely and only chops off the guy's ear. But Jesus still goes out and heals the man of his ear. Why would the disciples think that would be something that would need to happen, that they would need swords in the first place?
Well, every other Jewish sect that's come up before proclaiming that they're the Messiah has always done it with military force, rebelling against the Roman Empire. So that's what they're expecting.
What exactly are they expecting? What exactly are the Jews expecting of the Messiah that they knew was supposed to come? What kind of king were they looking for?
A great ruler, something.
Yeah. They were looking for somebody to come in and kick Rome out. They knew things weren't right. And they said, okay, Jesus is the guy. This is definitely the guy that has come. He's the Messiah. And he's going to set things right. And anybody that stands in our way, we're going to kick their butts. We'll chop their ears off. And so that's why they're sitting there thinking, we need swords. This is it. Time is coming. This is the moment we've been waiting for. And Jesus is finally going to take his seat as the king of Israel. Bring everything back. What they're not paying attention to is the fact that Jesus really is going to take his seat as the king of Israel. That he's doing it on the throne. On the cross, I should say. But anyways, getting back to what I was saying just a little bit ago. So, he goes through all this and he's saying, okay, if you've got a sword, if you've got a purse, or, whatever else, take it. This is what you need. And they say, we've got 2 swords. We're ready to go. He says, yeah, that's enough. That's the look I imagine on Jesus' face whenever they say, we've got 2 swords. It's just the idea of, couldn't have said something about purses, huh? Couldn't have said about, let's see here, a bag or cloaks. Had to mention the swords. Totally missed what I was trying to tell you. Yeah, sure. 2 swords, that'll be fine. That's all you need. Didn't want you to bring swords. That Jesus goes through this process during the arrest, and he still is compassionate towards the servant. And he could have just left the guy with his ear on the ground, right? I mean, where was the guy going to take him?
Jail.
Yeah. He was about ready to take him to jail. He was about ready to take him to the high priest and have all that happen. And so he could have just said, your ear can stay on the ground. But instead, he picks it up and he heals the man that's been hit. Right? And this is kind of what we're talking about here with Jesus' whole plan, is that he comes and he establishes a new covenant, a new Israel, and a new hope. And as he's going through this process, he's bringing everybody into this plan of restoration so we can be restored to God. So, apparently I forgot to put the lines on this one. So God's plan from the beginning was for all to be with him. And Jesus' death on the cross allowed for all to be brought into a new covenant, a new Israel, have hope. That's right. The message on this one didn't have the spaces to fill in. So, sometimes when you're preparing these classes, you've got way more material than you thought you had, and sometimes when you prepare for these classes, you have way less material than you thought you had. Granted, this week is going to be less. Since we're here for a second, a couple things. For one, we've got the lock-in next Sunday, so make sure to invite friends, bring snacks and drinks for everybody. Well, there's something else I was trying to say about that. But, in any case, also this week, if you guys are available, we should be getting the laminate hopefully this week. And so if we do, then we're going to try and work on putting the flooring down so we can finish off in here. And say thank you to the guys that did show up. I know it was Maddie, Riley, Reagan, Eli. Who else was here? Weston was here for a little bit. Aiden showed up. That's right, Caitlin was here and helped paint and pick up some of the carpet. So we're getting there. We still got a little bit of ways to go in remodeling this, but if you are available this week, it'd probably be like Thursday or Friday, probably Thursday, but to help get the laminate put down and move forward. We'll need help. Also, Miss Sherry might need some help with the Bible hour room, getting it set up for today. So just check with her before you head into worship and see if she needs anything else done in there. So, aside from that, who's having a Christmas meal today?
Our Christmas Eve meal, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we do ours.
Yeah, dinner.
Never.
Oh, that's fun.
It's something new.
We're opening tonight.
Yeah, I was just
Well, we
telling
usually open our gifts.
Okay.
Got out of the bed.
Yeah, I was just telling Tristan earlier that my family, our tradition was usually like opening up one gift on Christmas Eve, and then that gift was always a game, and you'd sit there and play board games on Christmas Eve. So, yeah.
We tried to get our mom to let people one last night, but she didn't. Or I did.
Did you get that text from me at like midnight?
Oh, Christmas Eve gift.
Yeah, the reason Jeremy said that Christmas